depending on your goals, find somebody who can eliminate time. Time's important, and time spent on building the website shouldn't be wasted. In this episode of the 2 for 5 podcast, Drew and Christian dive into the importance of having a beautifully designed and highly optimized website. Enjoy the episode.
Websites.
There's some bad ones out there.
There are some bad ones out there, and you do not want to be known as someone who has a bad website. Correct?
Yeah, because I'm not a website designer, and I've tried making a website before. It's harder than you think it would.
Much harder.
Because as like a consumer, you know what looks good, and you know what works well. Like you know what you like, but you might not be able to tell you what you like. But like then when you get into like even like with Wix, where it's simple to use, or any of like a Squarespace where they're simple to use and really user friendly, but it's still like you have to know design, and even you have to know UX design too, and how things flow and where things should be. That's why my website's not live.
I would 100% agree, and it's a lot easier to critique something than it is to create something, I think. And with something like Wix and Squarespace, that's like a front-end designer, you can just drag and drop where you want things to go. Where WordPress is a little bit more complex, and then you've obviously got the people out there who can code, which is very impressive to me. I don't think I could ever learn how to code, but the thing that I guess I would want to talk about mostly is just knowing what direction you want to go in, knowing what you like, knowing the things that grab your attention, and making sure that they are consistent within your brand and know kind of your brand identity through your website.
Yeah, because there's a lot of ways you could go with it. Just talking about brand identity, we as a marketing company or agency, we want to have, and marketing agencies in general want to have kind of fun, vibrant websites that are really user-friendly, but have, I would say, a lot of movement. I would say they're dynamic. Mm-hmm. So when you're going through it, it feels like there's a lot of energy going, but within some other industries that are more, I guess, professional in nature, you don't want, the flashy colors. You don't want the slide, I don't know the types, the actual words for it, you'd know better, but like the transitions in, you don't want the bubbles popping up. You want something more clean cut that would represent that brand, unless they're a cool brand, quote unquote cool brand. But if they're more professional, they want to be seen as professional, then they're going to have, the bells and whistles flying around.
Yeah,
that's not who they're trying to go to. They're not trying to attract that kind of customer.
Yeah, I mean, if you're choosing between an attorney or an engineer, and they've got, a little personality is okay, but if they've got them on there going crazy or berserk just with animation or memes or stuff like that, then that maybe takes away from the credibility of them as a company. Whereas a marketing firm, that's kind of what people search out, I would say, like the creativity. Like I think with an attorney or any professional service firm like that, they're not really seeking out the creativity, although that people want to know about your team. You've got to keep it consistent with what you want to portray rather than trying to be something that you're not, or trying to be something that's over the top when you don't need to be over the top. You just need to be who you are and be consistent.
Yeah, and I will say this is my first gripe about user experience. And I notice it a lot with service industries because they don't think it especially if they're doing it in-house, they don't think about it like marketing when they design a website, is that the amount of tabs and amount of pages they have on their website, where if they're talking about a certain topic, say they're talking about services and they don't have a lot of copy for it, but they have like 6 sub pages and like on their website, and it just annoys me where if I'm looking for their services, personally, if they don't have a lot of information, I want it on one page where I can find it all the information on one page, not having to, click off and click back and click back, because that's just going to make me want to leave. Even though, because there's tons of competition out there.
Tons.
In any industry, there's a crazy amount of competition,
Right.
And just those little things just turn me off on stuff. Now, if one thing's wrong, that's okay. But if one thing's wrong on a website, more than likely there's multiple things that are going on, especially from a UX perspective. It's like, it gives me the creeps. Because I was telling you before we started that it's hard to tell you what like a good UX is. Like I can tell you creatively like a design that I like, and there's different designs for different things. But I can tell you like, I like vibrant colors, but I don't like, there's some colors I don't like. But I like a flowy website that kind of leads you on a journey and has really good high quality images and all of that good stuff. But I couldn't tell you what like a good UX is. Like if I'm looking at it, I just know what bad ones are, because those stick out to me the most. Is whenever I base it off how many clicks that I'm having to make to find what I need. And if I have to make more than 3 clicks to find the information I need, I'm done. I mean, there's tons of times where I'm click on a website and I look at the branding, the colors, and just see the layout, and I'm like, oh, this is just, they're not professional. They don't look credible. So I just click off immediately and find another one. And then some of them look spammy, because we talked about cuts in another podcast. You get all those advertisements I was talking about, and it's like, this is a spam account, the spam website or whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is a spam company. And then I go to the website, and I'm like, oh, this is a normal company. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great website, but it's, it's what they need.
Right.
And it doesn't look, it gave it credibility. It made it look real. It's like having a blue check mark.
Yeah, 100%. And just kind of building off when you said negativity, or when you said that you kind of get a negative experience from a website like that, you are always, I think typically you're going to remember the negative things more than you are the positive things. I think that's human nature. And to go with that, making a website that is clear and points you in the right direction and is concise, and it's not so many pages that you've got to dig through the entire thing. I think it's okay to use services as an example. I think it's okay to put services all on the same page, and if you have a lot of copy, then I would go like click on them or have a drop down for them. Whereas I know what you mean when there's a lot of people who have not enough copy for the amount of pages that they have, and it'd be better for them just to be able to put it on one page.
I've also noticed too where some people put like, even if it's not a ton of information, they only have one page. It's just a home landing page where, but if you scroll down, you'll find the about. Even if you have it anchored to where you'll have it anchored, but I don't know if it's just human nature, but you see that top, the header bar or the drop down menu or whatever it's going to be, and you see like a home, about, services, or blog or insights or something like that. You just see that, and it just does something to my brain. Like it makes me feel like, okay, I can trust these people. They know what they're doing. It might be.
Would
it might be
you
a
say that it increases their credibility?
I think it would increase their credibility, Drew Krusevsky. Yeah, no, it does increase their credibility. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes in. Having a good website, I think, is the most important thing for a business when it comes to marketing. Because I mean, you can have social media, great. You don't own social media. You don't own your audience on Facebook. And then you can sell some stuff on Facebook. You can market yourself. But where are these people going? I mean, if you're trying to be a serious business, you have to have a website.
Right.
Plain and simple. I think everybody should have their own personal website, especially people who are in professional industries. I'm not saying like law or accounting and stuff, but just everybody who's alive. I mean, I think that should be just another thing about it's like social media.
Yeah,
like
everybody has their own personal brand too. It's not just from a business standpoint. And I
mean, you spend all this time on Instagram curating, especially from an influencer or people aspiring to be influencers. They spend all this time curating their Instagram accounts. They look good, they're on brand. Same thing with the TikToks. Then they go up to maybe go to YouTube. Well, send them, like, have a website. You don't even have to have things on there. And this goes into another point we want to talk about too. Like they might not know how to. Maybe they have a great personality. Maybe they know how to social media market themselves or their business. But they might not know how to. They might not feel comfortable designing a website. outsource. You're wasting, and if you do try to do it on Wix, it will take you a lot of time to A, learn it,
Right.
and then B, make a website, and then C, make it good.
Mm-hmm.
Outsource, whether it be on Upstart, Fiverr, is it Upwork, not Upstart, Upwork,
yeah.
Fiverr, or like us, Social Bullpen.
Right.
Find. I mean, depending on your goals, find somebody who can eliminate time, because time's important, and time spent on building the website shouldn't be wasted, especially when
Right.
it's going to turn out like crap.
And that is,
There's your teaser.
yeah, that's a great, yeah, it's 100% our teaser. But I think that's a great point, and that's a helpful solution. I think a lot of podcasts that try to create value, they just kind of talk about the problems of things. They talk about things that people do wrong and where maybe they go wrong, where, we're actually offering the advice of a solution to something. And not to say that someone can't make their own website by themselves. There's people that do it, but at the same time, you could search different marketing firms, see what other websites they've created, see their websites themselves, and see if that's the kind of direction that you want to go in. And every industry is going to have a different platform that they're going to need to be on. Like if you blog, you're probably not going to want to be on Wix. That's really not a blogging platform. There's other platforms, or what word am I looking for here? Hosts. Yes. There's other hosts that are going to provide a lot more value to you through the services that they offer on those certain hosting platforms, where Wix is going to be more for like your super small business. You want to kind of keep it less than 5 pages. You don't really want to go over the top, because I think you do get limited on Wix. They have a set number of pages that you can build, and you don't want to run into going back to what you said about wanting your services on one page if you don't have a ton of copy. You don't want to waste those pages, because especially if your business starts to scale and you've got to increase, you want to go ahead and pick the right platform for you, where you don't have to go back and redo the entire thing over again just because you're running out of pages, because your content, your copy's expanded, your business is expanding. You just want to be able to pick the right thing for you. And I think outsourcing or seeking out advice of somebody who's done this before is pretty crucial to your business success, I would say.
Yeah, because even from my perspective, and I work in marketing, and I've been in like meetings where websites have been designed, and I gave my 2 cents. I'm not a designer by any means, and I'm not a web designer front end or back end, so I'm going to preface that here and now. But like, I know what goes into it, and I know the basics of it. I almost texted you. I was like, I almost paid you behind, like, just to build my website, because I was struggling so much with it. I got it flushed out pretty much now, but my personal website, I was like, I just don't have the time to do this. Like, this is just not worth my time. And I pride myself on trying to be able to figure out things. I was like, I just can't. I was getting so frustrated because it just didn't look good, and it didn't flow right. And it was the most it's on Wix. It was the most user-friendly design platform, in my opinion. I was like, what is going on? I'm not writing code. I'm not doing any of this. But that's how important it was to me, because like that's why it's not live yet, because like I don't feel like it's there yet, because that's reflecting my personal brand. So imagine me, who's not like I don't need a website per se, even though I just said you should have one. But like, it's not crucial to my business. But like, let's just say like a tailor, like somebody who's a tailor. How many tailors do you know, like in a small business sense, around our areas that have good websites? Most people don't. And I'll type, there's a tailor I really want to go get my stuff tailored at, and I go click on their website, and it's a Facebook. And that turns me off more than anything, Drew.
Yeah.
Is that seeing their website is a Facebook page. I just don't trust it.
Like, if you get a link to put to your website and it's a Facebook link, I agree. That's the most irritating thing in the world. Especially, I experience that with restaurants a lot. Your new restaurant opened up in town. You're trying to go check out their menu, where it takes you to their Facebook page, and you have to navigate the Facebook page, and Facebook is always updating things, so you can get lost and not be able to find the content that you want. Where if you had your own website and you built it in a simple, concise way, I think you would retain more
Yeah.
customers that way.
And it's like I don't want to go down a tangent on like mom and pop stores and stuff like that, and mom and pop restaurants and things, but I don't know if they're dying. But I know like the novelty of like, oh, it's a mom and pop restaurant. I feel like it's wearing off because there's so many mom and pop restaurants. But if you have like a good website and you are a mom and pop restaurant, it just, you can, that's the thing about this, to go back to branding. You can brand yourself and be authentic as a
Right.
mom and pop restaurant and still have a website, a good website. You can do that on your website. That's what the website's for, is to speak to your personality. And that's what like marketers like ourselves, or, you know, other people do to help, is like we find, you know, your branding, you find your voice, you find your audience, we find who you're trying to reach, and we create the website around what that is. And
Right.
that speaks to your customer. It's not tech, you know, we're not tech people. we're not marketing to, you know, EV driving car people.
Yeah.
We'd be marketing to like, you know, Pop's restaurant. Like there's so many restaurants named that, but that's another, yeah.
But that's what I feel like marketing is, when you boil it down, is you're just trying to help people to a certain extent. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any benefit to not having a website or a digital footprint like that. Like if you, like for example, I needed a plumber the other day, and I got on Google, I searched plumber. Well, you can click on plumber, and number one thing I do is read their reviews. Second thing I do is look at their website. And if I look at their website and it's just thrown together on Amazon Web Services or just something that was generically made, I'm not going to use them. But if I have somebody and they've taken the time to create a nice website, or they've outsourced it to somebody, I'm probably going to go with the one that has the better website, just because I think that they're putting value into, they're showing that they care, I think, at that point, rather than just somebody that has a generic, just little, it's like a business card basically. But I think your website should be more than that.
It really is. It really is, because, I mean, I think, especially for businesses and individuals, because there's a lot of things, like, cards are, you know, cool. Like, I'm talking about business cards. Like, cards are important, but now they have, like, I don't know, the e-cards. There's not scantrons, QR codes.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. QR codes. Or I would tell people, hey, go to my website. It's, you know, bobtheplumber.com. Well, oh, he's got a website already. That's cool. So you type it in, and it's like, here's everything you need. Then you can throw in, you know, photos of past jobs, or like, this is your process of, and then like, even like, here's like info to get a quote, or reach out to me, or if you want to go ahead and put your pricing menu. Your topic about menus about websites, that's so true, because that angers me.
It's irritating. Like it makes you not want to go somewhere. And why would you ever do something that makes people not want to go to the place that you own? Like it doesn't, like, I get if you don't have it in your budget, or so just talking about budgeting, if you don't have it in your budget, I don't blame you for making something that's very simple, like a business card, kind of like what I was talking about. But if you can afford it, I think it is almost a non-negotiable just to get a website up and going. And for restaurants, easily one page is all you need. 2, if you want to have an about us. 3, if you want to have a contact page. That's it. You don't need more than that. And I think a lot of people are hurting themselves by not doing that.
Because it's really, I don't want to get into like the cost structure of it, but it's an upfront charge for sure. A web hosting charge that's per year.
Yep.
Like it's like, was it $100 on Wix or something like that?
It just depends on what you use.
Yeah. But then
And then there's a domain charge too,
Yeah.
which is also yearly. So
and then it could be done, or it could be a retainer. I mean, just getting it up and going, that might be the only thing. Then you'd be like, pay by, you know, I can't change the word. Can you change it for me?
right.
Like stuff like that. But it just doesn't make. it gives you so much credibility. And people search for like best restaurants in Kingsport or best restaurants in Knoxville, and people are looking, and that goes, if you have a website, great, but it's got to be a good website because it's not going to be found.
Right.
But
And if it's not a good website, people are not going to keep going to it. Like,
how many pizza places do you think are in Knoxville? Just off the top of your head, just a rounded out, like downtown Knoxville area.
downtown?
Tennessee, UTK to like downtown.
They're probably the same place, but like, I'd say in Knoxville, let's say 100, just to round, like a round number.
Okay, and then so there's 100 pizza places. You really want to specify what, like, you don't want to say, if you have a pizza restaurant, like say it's like Vito's, a Sicilian pizza. You don't want to say you sell pizza. You want to say you sell authentic Italian Sicilian style pizza. You want to rank. You want to rank for that. Now, Mellow Mushroom might say, we're the hippie pizza place. That's who they are. They're trying to rank for that. You don't want to try to attract everybody who likes pizza. You want to attract people who like Sicilian pizza, and then focus on people who just want pizza.
Right.
If I'm searching for a Sicilian pizza, I want to find the Sicilian pizza joint right away, and then rank. And then if I see 5, I'll go to their websites or like reviews first, and then if they're all like 4.5s or 5s, 5s kind of throw me off. Fives are a little too good to be true, but I'll go to like 4.5 to 4.8. I'll look at that. Then I'll go to the websites and like find pricings and like see what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I look at if I can order on their website. It makes it so much, because I think pizza delivery is great and whatnot. I would prefer not to go pick up my pizza, but there's a lot of times when I will just go pick it up because it's not getting there in the timeliness that I'm looking for. But so Hard Knocks is one that, just off the top of my head, I know that I can order from there, and it's delicious, and it's a little expensive, but I'm willing to pay that because of how easy it is for me to order on their app. Where if I got like Papa John's and they were delivering it to me, it's going to take them like an hour and a half, where I can just order online at Hard Knocks. I'll go pick it up because, number one, I like their website, or I like their pizza, number one. Number two, it's easy for me to access their website and their menu and be able to order, and I can get it in a timely fashion. So I just think having a good website is going to be crucial. Like, obviously ranking on Google is important, but also you want to have something that people can see when they get to where they want to learn about you.
That's going to make it rank better. It's
right.
Just if they have a good experience and they're not leaving really quickly, bounce rank.
100%.
If they're staying on your website, plus you can, and then you get an analytics, but that's for us to do.
Right.
But it's just great capturing. Last thing I want to talk about before we end this episode is that we have some friends who might listen to this podcast who are in baseball. You could advise them right now about why they need a website, and they're college baseball coaches. What would you tell them if they don't have one right now?
I would say kind of what you alluded to earlier on. It's kind of like your home base. You can put as much information on there as you want. You can put the information that you think provides the most value to people on there. You can put long form videos, blogs, content that you can't put on Instagram or Facebook. I think it makes you look more credible when you've got a website. Kind of the same thing as a business. And then it's kind of like a resume, so to speak, where you can show what you know, what you've learned, basically if there's a problem and you've solved it with somebody, what steps you took to get there, and kind of your processes, and just being able to show that you're not just saying that you do stuff, you're actually showing people that you are doing these things, and you're able to put that all in one spot. I think that's extremely valuable, and I think that helps people get jobs. I don't know personally if somebody who's gotten a job in baseball from a website, but I do know that the New York Yankees pitching coach went from a high school coach to the Yankees pitching coach in 6 years, and he had a website. And so I think that kind of speaks volumes to how important it is an online footprint can be.
I think it really is the resume thing. I think that you're spot on with the credibility. It's like we're talking about credibility. If you have a YouTube, and just we're staying on college baseball coaches. If you have a YouTube, which I think you should, and put out content about, even I would put out simple tips first, and you'd be like, "This is how you hit a baseball." Like this is how simple stuff, and like very simple stuff, and then host it, like put it on a Wix or on a WordPress site. Get that down, have the YouTube channel down. But if you're in a job, and then you say you have then you have a podcast, or you just sit down and record yourself talking about, spin rate, and then why it matters and how you develop it and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry if people are listening to this and you don't know what we're talking about, but it's really techie baseball stuff. But if you're talking about all this stuff, have it on your website, have it on YouTube, cool deal. You don't have to go into an interview, or if somebody asks you, like, what do you think about this? And you can give them an answer, but, if a coach is looking for you or a GM's looking for you, they can go to your website and just browse all your content. You save 6 hours of your life trying to explain. Like, you don't have to do an elevator pitch why you're the right guy for the job.
Right.
They have all this, and just the first initial reaction is like, you actually care. I think that's another thing, is not just in baseball, but like it shows you care about your customers and your product, and you believe in it.
100% agree. And it's not a slight to the people that can't afford a website or they think that they don't have a good one. It just shows that you are willing to do what you need to do in order to make the customer happy and give the customer the best experience possible.
How much does it cost to have a Wix website?
Hosting for a year, the first year, is $150 for the year. The domain is it varies, but typically I would say about $12. So for less than $200, you can have
drink coffee at home.
Now that's just the hosting. That's the domain.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't want people to think is like we can just make a website for $200.
No, that's you doing it on your own.
Right. That's you by yourself. But the value we provide is we can make it a lot quicker than you. We're used to it, and
there's strategy behind everything.
100%.
There is a reason for every word, every font size, the flow, the UX, the front end is where I think that people could try to do on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Even
back
that,
end,
though,
sure not.
Back end is, and just the UX. I think UX is hard to understand, and you really have to know it to be able to implement it.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Blow on the street's not going to know UX.
Right. I mean, that's like we were looking at a website before we started recording, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, 4 different fonts. I hate the size of this, and this."
Mm-hmm.
Like no one else notices that. Like you don't notice those things because most websites that you go back to consistently have consistency and are in line with the vision of the company or the blog or whatever you're trying to market on your website. It's all consistent and it's one encompassing thing where there's some that people try to make and they are not that way. And not that those are bad. And I'm not saying that this website is bad either, but it's just stuff that we would notice that your average person trying to make a website would not.
Yeah. And I think the average person wouldn't notice like right away, but I think if in their brain, just like, because when we build the website, we're putting into practice of like neuromarketing and then like really psychological things, because that like color theory, and which we're going to talk about in February, but color theory, font types, like flow, it's a lot of psychology in it, like neuromarketing psychology, but they don't know it affects them right off the bat, but it does.
Right.
But like the website we were talking about before, if I was a random person just happened to stumble across it, which they're not going to stumble across it because they're not ranking. The website wouldn't rank at all. It'd be on the millionth page
right.
of blogs. But I would click off right away because I just wouldn't want to look at it. I'd just be like, this is not it.
I agree.
It's not it, Cat.
And that's with everything.
That's with
website wise. It's
everything.
Just consistency. I think is going to be my word for 2023 because the
I
number
think
one
that was my
thing-
word too.
Was
Did I
it?
say that?
I thought yours started with a D.
No, direction. Mine was direction.
Yeah. So, I mean, with everything that people do, like whether it's if you want to get in the gym, or you need to make a website, or you're starting a business, like the consistency of everything is what brings you success. It's not who knows more or who's more talented. It's whether you actually are being consistent with what you're doing, and that provides the most value.
Last thing I'll say, I think you mentioned it, and I think it's a really good point, but you can create a website by yourself right off the bat, but to scale at the side, if your business scales, especially if it scales quickly and you're wanting to scale, it's hard to do it by yourself.
Yes.
Especially if you're a service industry, as in like cooking or cooking restaurants. You cook food, Grandma. If you're a restaurant or a tourism or things where you're having to do the work, the manual labor, and especially if you're a small business owner, like the sole proprietor of a business, your time should not be spent on building a website and maintaining a website.
100%. You should spend your time doing what you're good at and let other people do what they're good at. That way that you can get the best result possible.
Because you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out the website thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a lot of wasted time. And at the end, you're just going to be like, I wish I had paid someone else to do this because it would looked better, gone quicker, more expensive, but time is also valuable.
Yeah, you're going to be burnt out, and then it's going to affect your actual business. And then then you won't need a website because you won't have a business because you want to go there because you're an butthole. About slipped up on that one.
But no, I thought that was a good conversation. So, and I hope it brings people value and hope that it opens their eyes a little bit to kind of the design process and the entire process of having a website and what goes into making it a quality website and how it helps your business.
I agree.
So,
I think my dog needs to use the restroom. All right.
On that
See everybody in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the 2 for 5 podcast. For more information about the Social Bullpen, head over to thesocialbullpen.com or follow us on social media. We'll see you in the next episode.